Kendra Williams at Williams Muscadine Vineyard and Farm, out here with Sue Ham, baby. And glad she and Jackson came to join so Jackson can get the experience of picking Muscadine grapes. And I was just explaining to them how when my grandfather retired from several years, I want to say at least 30, if not more, teaching as an agricultural teacher for the county of Williamsburg, he decided to invest in some vines. I think he took like maybe $500, got some vines. And when he got the soil tested, Clemson Extension didn't think that vines would grow. They said that the soil was not proper in nutrients to grow the muscadines, but he tried anyway. And when he started, they grew and they kept growing and he kept adding. And he's been working this before he expired on last year. But this has been his pride and joy. I think he probably has about 25 years of his hard work, sweat, love, and tears into these vines. Wow. And so currently it's being maintained by my father, Waldo Wendell Williams, and my uncle Eldridge Williams, and my brother David Williams, who's been making sure that the grass is cut, the vines are trimmed, and it's a lot of work. Everybody only comes out this time of year to see the finished product, but it takes a whole lot of months to get this where it is. So we're happy to be a part of this. I actually think this is now the best place on earth due to coronavirus. So yes, we're social distancing. We're able to get all this great vitamin D to help us stay healthy. And the muscadines are like some of the most nutritional types of fruits that you can get. And the most nutritional portion would be the skin and the seeds. And there's also value in leaves. So this is more than a value for just the area. This is one of the hidden secrets of Williamsburg County, but we try our best to advertise and let everyone come out and experience, as Jackson is, and just know that this is some therapeutic recreation and one of my favorite things to do.
Wow. How many acres do you think this is, Kendra?
Approximately 5.
5 acres? Mm-hmm. Man, the vines look like they just go on and on and on and on, and it's so beautiful and quiet out here. It's peaceful, and the grapes are delicious. Oh my God.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we hope this is not your first and last time.
Definitely not last time.
We're definitely here from 8 a.m. until dark, daily, until the vines are clear and the grapes are no longer available.
The battle we usually have with agriculture out here is just, the elements such as the pest and the deer. The deer, if you don't keep them away at bay, they'll destroy your crop and destroy your yield. And it's not like they're trying to intentionally, but they're just looking for food like everybody else. So what we have to do is find ways or find certain crops that we will plant out and let the deers eat on the other side so they don't mess with some of these cash crops. So what I did, I was planting I got okra on this side too, but we also plant certain amaranth and stuff like that, but we want just the seeds. But when the deers was coming to eat the leaves, they didn't affect any of the okra in the back. So it's kind of like I just let them eat the leaves because I wasn't harvesting them for the leaves, even though you could. We want the seeds to make grain. So since they go on the seed now, the deer didn't do anything to deter the seeds and the crops what I wanted to get, but they did eat the leaves, and that kept them from attacking these okras right here. So these okras in the back row were able to thrive, while our green okra were attacked by some of the deer. So you got to kind of create a balance when you farming to create a natural ecosystem, because you're going to have pests and you're going to have the things that attack your crops. So just like the natural ecosystem, a lot of predators eat the herbivores to create that balance. You got to create a balance too. You got to create certain plants so them herbivores won't attack your edible plants, because they're going to eat regardless because that's their diet. So what you want to do is plant certain things. And on the other side of the farm, we planted radishes in the ground for the rabbits and stuff, so the rabbits wouldn't eat our crops. So we plant dummy crops on the outskirts of the farm to make sure that if they're gonna come, they'll eat something, but it's nothing that we're trying to invest money in. See, the farming business is a very reciprocal business, because you're gonna get in what you put out. Your sweat equity and the love and the nurturing you put in your plants, it will reciprocate with the plants. However, your investment can be wasted if you don't prepare for elements such as pests and disease and things of that nature. So you have to still find ways to deter things like that so you don't lose your money and your efforts and your sweat equity. because you not only invest in the money in it, you also invest in sweat equity. And that's the thing in farming that gets overlooked. You know, a lot of people are seeing the convenience of seeing food brought to them at a convenience of fast food or at a grocery store. But when you farming, you really see the process it takes to actually get the food to produce. And then when you farming, you see what it takes to produce food in high yields. So you have to have certain tricks of the trade. And if people depend on you to produce food at high yields, you have to continue to produce it. So that's why we have to find ways to continue to, like the grapes, like my grandfather established. We have to find ways, and we have to keep these vines going to continue to produce, because this is what we call our cash crop out here. So we have to find ways to have pesticides. We have to find ways to keep the disease down. So that's why maintenance throughout the year is key. Everybody think you can just come here during picking time, and that's all it is. But these vines, they don't produce like that if they're not given the love and attention. And my grandfather established these, and he gave them all of his love and attention. So when he passed away, it was on us to continue that love and nurturing to the vines, so that they could continue to produce with the love that they gave him. And it wasn't anything on no, magical things, or no, spooky or anything. It was just the fact that plants are life, and just like any type of living thing, it'll give you back what you give it. It gives you that same energy. So with these grapes, you gotta really give energy throughout the years. When these vines start turning brown for the winter, you gotta start trimming them in. Then when they start back sprouting, it's a period we gotta start trimming again. Then, like you see my uncle, who's one of the main person out here helping, for the most part, him and my father running, you gotta continue cutting the grass and keep the weeds down year round, because weeds attack the nutrients of your plants. So the maintenance of it really gets overlooked. The labor of it really gets overlooked. And really, as Black Americans, you should really understand where we're coming from, because this country was built on our labor, and that labor is never monetized because it gets overlooked. And in the society we live in, the labor pool that does the most work usually get paid the least amount of money, because it's not respected. But when certain things hit and labor is on strike, you see the whole corporation crumble, because the labor is so valuable. That's why sweat equity and investment is just as important as a capital investment, because you need both of them to make the idea run. Not only you gonna need money, but you're gonna need people to work. And as long as you work, you're gonna get something out of it. If you don't work, you don't eat. But you gotta work, and just putting money in sometimes ain't enough work. You really gotta get your hands dirty still. You really gotta get out here in this sun still. You really gotta put in that real work. And that's what it is about. That's what farming has taught me. It taught me you get in what you put out. It's life lessons out here. That's why a lot of the morals and values we get are rooted in agriculture. You reap what you sow. A lot of the morals and values you get are rooted in this, because agriculture is the way of life. There is no culture without agriculture. Agriculture produces food, and it moves civilization forward. So if we don't appreciate agriculture and the work that it takes for agriculture, and it also teaches you the power of being self-sufficient, we really, not appreciating everything that our people, not only like my grandfather, but we all come from, a brilliant people that came and established agriculture throughout this world. So we all need to, really get back into nature, so to say, and appreciate the work that it takes to get this to go this way. Because, right now we're in the technology stage, or the technology phase, being out in the physical world has really become a second thought. But really, we all need to be out here in some form or fashion to appreciate the land, appreciate the earth, because we the gatekeepers of it. We as people are, and if we don't appreciate our role in nature, nature will deteriorate, because it will give us back when we give it. That's why I really appreciate all the morals and values that my grandfather gave me, that I learned just working with my grandfather and my other family members that actually have, agriculture as their mainstay. We come from family of agriculture. Not only did my grandfather was a farmer, but the land is named after his father, Gabriel, who established this farm. So we come from agriculture. My grandmother, his wife, have farmland and see the swamp. They come from farmland. Land ownership. Land ownership gave us an independence that a lot of family members don't have, because it allowed us to create our own way of being self-sufficient. It allowed us to create wealth or create generational, something generational we can pass down. And when I say wealth, it's not even about the money. It's about the opportunity to make the money. When you have land, you always have an opportunity to grow something, to establish something in your own merit. So what our ancestors did after, post the Civil War during this area was starting to buy land, because they understood the power in land ownership. Because after the Civil War, they just tasted freedom as citizens of the United States. So they understood the importance of owning land. And those that understood the importance of understanding of buying land and maintaining land in the early 1900s and passed those same Jews down to their families, those families have been able to create and establish their own generational wealth. You see a lot of those families like ours. We're not, the only family that established farms. So you see a lot of other families around here that established farms that have been able to keep their family business going. I can think of another family in town, the Flemings / Williams. They have a little farm out on Gardstown, if I'm not mistaken. They have kept their land going. I appreciate and I support all black farmers and all local farmers that have been able to establish and maintain their farmland throughout all these generations and everything in the turmoil. Like, it was a lot of families that lost land because post-Civil War, they couldn't read or write the laws, understand the laws or taxes and things, and they actually lost land because they didn't know how to pay and maintain the land based off the rules, laws, and regulations that were established. And a lot of family members didn't like the sweat equity that had to put to maintain, and migrated up north or migrated in cities to where, corporations were established to where they can go do another type of job in another type of industry. But farming and land ownership has allowed us to keep an independence. We can always find a way to come back to the land and help and establish something that our ancestors established for us to keep something going. It's bigger than us. It's not nothing about me making money. It's continuing something that's greater than me. It's a greater good. It's a determined idea that was established before me that can be continued, and a legacy that can be continued with all my children, my younger cousins, and things of that nature. The same grapevines that my granddaddy established in 1988, he has great-grandchildren right now, picking and playing in them right now. That's a dream that he had before he passed away, that he wanted all of us to come together and be able to come back on our land, on our merits, on our own rules, and on our own terms. And his father gave him that dream. And his father gave him that determined idea when he established land. So the reason we were able to keep it going, because my grandfather was able to put the sweat equity in. Coming from 23 children, he comes from a family of 23 children. He was the one that came back to put the work in. He was the one that established it, and he was the one that said my sweat equity would be something that continues the legacy of my father. So when he started, getting into his retirement ages as far as a farmer, it was up on us to continue his work, because he established something for us. And when he established it for us, it's up on us to continue it up, because our children need something too. And my goal is to just continue to enhance on his legacy. Like, I'm his namesake. Like I said earlier, he raised me, basically. He raised me, my sister, and my brother in times when my father was being a very great educator and mentor and tutor in his own right, but it's in Greeleyville, and 10 miles away. So it was some nights when my grandfather came to football games and baseball games and came to get me out of school and all that. He was my patriarch at a lot of times. He showed me a lot of values and morals that have helped establish me as a man. So it is very important to me as his namesake to continue the legacy and to show my children everything that he showed me, so that they can find the appreciation in it in their own right. And I get them out here, and we do every aspect of farming, because it's a whole, like I said earlier, it's a whole different level. You gotta have the labor class, because you gotta put in the work, you gotta pick, you gotta work, you gotta cut, you gotta trim. But then, just as my aunts right there, you see the executive type of aspect of it too. You got to be able to budget the money, establish the farm funds, establish the pricing, establishing the social media marketing. That's another aspect of farming. Then I have distributions. We set up distribution with other restaurants, like a sister named Regina Saunders came down. She has a restaurant in Charleston, and she bought a lot of grapes because she wants to grow. Her idea is she wants to produce food at her restaurant that comes directly from local farms, and we partner with her through many Gullah Geechee venues, and she's been talking about coming, and she came out here, and she was able to buy okra and grapes and things of that nature to take back to her restaurant to show our, the work we put in the Charleston area. Distribution is another aspect of it. So it's different levels of farming that people don't really see. When people hear farming, they just think about us out here putting in the labor. But it's different levels of farming, such as marketing, distribution, that it's a farming business, it's agro business. And then it's a business that we, as black people, for the most part of America, we actually help establish this, that we never really understood how to monetize our value in this. But those who own land did, because that's all it was. The only reason we was not able to monetize our value and spread equity, because a lot of our ancestors were working on land that they wasn't owning. The minute they realized if they work and they buy their own land, not only is they the slave, they the master too. It's a difference. It's one thing to just be the master and have labors. It's one thing to be the slave and the master. It's a difference. I said this earlier to my wife. It's a difference when you climb a mountain and look down from the mountaintop than you was born on the mountain and look down on the mountaintop. If I climb a mountain and look down, it's because I climbed up and I can look down and help you because I can tell you how to get up this way. But if I'm born on the mountain, I don't know the trials and tribulations it takes for you to get up to the top. I just know I've been at the top and you ain't here with me. But me personally, I like the grind from the valleys and the hills all the way to the peak. And that's all it really is, because if you look at business, like I'm pretty sure you do, Suham, every chart, it breaks like that. It looks like mountain peaks. You see peaks and valleys in your growth of sales. Sales may rise, then they may fall. Then they may flatline, then they may rise. All that's talking about is, going through your hills, valleys, peaks, low points, high points. That's life. So again, I love that our ancestors realized the master wasn't no master of me. He was just the owner of this land. And if I own my land, I could be my own master, but I don't have to be a derogatory slave on it because I know the labor. He don't know the labor. I come from the people that he tried to steal because he knew the worth and intelligence of the labor. Well, guess what? I am the people he stole, and now the intelligence and the labor is within me. So if I get the land, I can actually do something he can't do. I can work for myself. He can't come out here and do that. And that's just the thought process that I really appreciate about land ownership.
My first batch of jam, we used a variety of these grapes. I use a variety of these. Pull them straight from the vines. The process is a simple process, but it's a long process. And it takes time. And I put love in everything. So I like top quality and make sure that the taste is right and the texture of it, and so that it can last. So I take the grapes and I squeeze them out. My children help, and that's one part that they love, squeezing the grapes, and we put them in a pot after we wash them, of course. We wash the skin very well because I like to use the skin. And I like to use the skin in the jams because the skin is where all those antioxidants are. So I like to get all of that into the grapes, into the jelly. So after cooking that down, squeeze all that juice out, and you have all of this juice. You squeeze it down until it's just seeds and pulp left. After that, I add a little bit of natural cane sugar, and it's just a process, mixing and stirring and watching the pot and waiting until it gets to a certain consistency, and you can it right away, and seal them. Awesome. Put our little labels on there, and my children love it. We have our PB&Js. They want toast every morning, so this is our go-to. I love it, and when the grapes aren't in season, and even now I do other grapes like strawberry jam, other jam, strawberry and blueberry, peaches, and we also have pears. So I'm gonna test my hand in the pears as well next time.
And you said you're originally from up north?
Yes, I grew up in New York. I'm a city country girl. I'm down here and I love it.
So that's testament that anyone can learn.
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. Because my husband and I met in college, so I talked about gardening with my grandmother in her little yard and things that I would want to do. And he's like, oh, we do that. So I learned a lot from him. He's my husband and he's my educator. He teaches me, I learn from him. It's amazing. And like he mentioned earlier, everything can be utilized. So he's more into the farming aspect and growing the vegetables and the fruits, and I process it a little more. I work with the herbs and utilize the herbs, and we make teas, and I find different ways to use the part of the plant that he doesn't use. So I'm more into using the herbs for medicinal purposes. We made a nice cream that aids with so many different ailments, pain, arthritis, eczema. Is great for eczema and dry skin. And those we utilize from herbs. I made everything from the herbs that we grow.
Can we get a picture of this great I keep saying jam. I'm country jelly, and it was amazing, handmade with love. Yes, you can definitely taste the love in it. How can they get in contact with you and get some of this great stuff?
You can follow me on Instagram at D's Hidden Treasures on Instagram, and also Community Saviors on Instagram as well.
And you're on Facebook as Community Saviors too, right?
Yes, we have a Community Saviors Facebook as well. My name on there is Rhodesia Trent Williams, but you can contact me through Community Saviors and then IG as well, D's Hidden Treasures.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.